It's Angus, and I'm back with another episode of the Lockdown Lowdown. Today, we have a digital company that is groundbreaking and forging a new way forward in Africa through web and app development, API and blockchain technologies, all while including a UX and UI everyone would be proud of to have on their system. We're joined with the commercial director of SovTech, Chase Roux. Thank you very much for being with us today, Chase.
Angus, thank you so much. Pleasure to be here and looking forward to what's to come.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you. I really like, I've started this new thing of looking at people's backgrounds because it's been, not to say boring, but I like what you've got there because there's a lot going on with the bookshelf. So it makes you very regal. I quite like your office space.
Absolutely. I think, it's not real books, maybe it's just a
it's a wallpaper.
Exactly. No, look, this is, I'm actually sitting at home in Cape Town in my mother's house, and this is all of her books, so you can see a couple of our family members in the back there.
Well, it's a good time to be with family and survive using that strength of unity with the loved ones you have during such an unknown and unprecedented time. But before we jump into more personal questions, can you tell us a little bit more about SovTech and what you guys do?
Sure. So at SovTech, we are a custom software development company, born and bred within the Johannesburg region. We have now expanded to more of a global reach with offices in Joburg, Cape Town, London, Nairobi, and soon to be Dubai. And we really specialize in the emerging technology side of things. So being able to look at digitization through artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, etc., and really being able to use those technologies and make them essentially any business is able to interact with them. It's not this far dream, right? We're able to make it real and make it happen within our businesses, even here.
Making things smaller, more connected. That's brilliant. I think your global expansion, I think that's testament to what you guys have created. And you really get a feel for that on your guys' digital platforms, your websites, your social medias. What type of level of maybe your attention to detail and the type of professionalism you can bring from I want to say South African, but because of digital African-based business, it's quite profound.
Yeah. So look, we are a proudly African business. When you could walk into our offices, you would walk around and see within the Joburg office people from all over Africa, all over the world, in fact, but predominantly Africa. So the dream is to become the world's leading software development company from Africa.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Now, talking about walking into the offices, obviously that's not going to be doable in the lockdown. Have you guys found remote work as a solution to the problem?
Look, so remote work at the moment is a whole bunch of different things to different people. There's positive connotations and negative connotations. And I think that, our definition of remote work might be more likely to something around the, like digital or distributed workforce, So let me take you through a little bit in terms of what you would expect from a remote working team, because right now I can imagine lots of businesses around South Africa are in a complete flat panic.
They're overthinking.
For sure, overthinking it. And when you're looking at remote work, you need to really be able to look through it and just say, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Okay. It's actually the way of working in the future. Imagine taking this remote work ability or phrase and saying, well, I could be working anywhere in the world. All right.
Yeah.
A little bit limited now, but you can at least in the comfort of your own home, and where any of us employers are able to work out of this traditional office environment. Okay, and you as an employee are able to sort of, how can you say it, execute on your projects and surpass your own goals whenever you feel fit. I would rather be sitting on a beach right now doing my work than really panicking about, shit, what does this remote work mean for my office? So absolutely, people are completely overthinking this.
I think a good point just that you touched on there is it's also down to the person and the type of employee you have working for SovTech, right? For any business. And I think two very important characteristics that are going to come out of this whole situation is accountability, right? For an employee to like put up their hand and say, I need to do this work. I can't go slack off. I can't watch Netflix or whatever the case is. As well as adaptability. Because if they're not willing to adapt in this time, then it's almost like your mindset is wrong. Because you allude to the future of work, of how this is going to be the new normal, and we have to not overthink it, but just take it and accept it. Can you mention any examples of businesses that have also done this really successfully?
Absolutely. Look, I think that the first thing that comes to mind, as you said, is that we're well equipped for it, and we are a tech company. But I think the biggest misconception is that they think that people think that only tech companies are capable of doing this whole work, distributed workforces, that type of thing, which in actual fact is most certainly not the case. The way that you can enter into this realm with a whole bunch more clarity is exactly like you said. The accountability side of things is huge. And I think the other one that you mentioned there was the communication.
Adaptability, yeah.
No, for sure. So I mean, that's adaptability, agility. When we've looked at a couple of companies over the past couple of years, if I had to liken it to something that's happening at the moment, like this COVID crisis, the most recent one was that 2008 crisis.
The financial,
that really struck. That struck the States and inadvertently affected the rest of the world. At that time, some of the biggest names or biggest household names came about. So if I look at towards the end of 2008, beginning 2009, you've got companies like Uber, WhatsApp, and Venmo, which maybe is a little bit more directed to the States, and I can talk a little bit through that a little bit. Slack is another big one. These were companies that didn't exist before this crisis. And basically what sort of gave these guys, these businessmen, or these business people, the advantage is their ability to be agile, right? Adaptable. When something comes about like this, when you're faced with extremely rapidly changing environment, it's ambiguous.
100%.
It's turbulent. It's probably the best way to do it or to say it. If you are unable to adapt, your company will not prosper. So absolutely agree with you on those 2 points. And one of the things that needs to be said here is that agility or adaptability is not incompatible with stability. So we're actually saying that in order to be agile, you really need to be stable.
Yes. Yeah, because I think some may, when they hear those two words, they might think it conflicts. But through that agility, you create the solid foundation of stability. I mean, going back to the mentions of the Ubers and Slack that have emerged from a time of crisis to being where they are today. I mean, you can't think of a world without those systems in place. It's almost like, how do we live before having Uber? I struggle to remember what taxi company I use. I know I used to go down Jan Smuts with a 5 Rand coin, go to bowls every now and again. But I mean, I think that's the beauty of technology, is that it allows us to get to the next point and to evolve into what is possible. And obviously, I mean, COVID is going to create those chances, and we're very much at the forefront of this pandemic and what it's going to liken to. So I'm quite excited to see where SovTech is going to be in the next 10 years based from this point, utilizing your ability to look behind you and to look forwards to change the workforce of the future.
Sure. So I think, from where we're looking to go, we started off about 3-4 years ago, really focusing on what is this workforce of the future, right? A lot of companies are completely distributed, really just making reference to the fact that there is a slight difference between remote and distributed. There's guys around the world, huge tech companies that there's not one office.
Yeah.
Right? People are sitting all around the world, in China, India, or South Africa, and they're just sitting in their homes, and this is their day-to-day. That is the workforce of the future, right? So 3 years ago, taking our learning from what happened back then, was we understood that this was the workforce that we could expect, okay? So we knew that in order for us to expand, in order for us to move from only dealing with South African clients to opening up offices across the world, we knew that we had to get that right now. So for the last three years, we have actually been having remote weeks at the office. Okay, so sitting down and saying, if we're going to be managing people in Dubai, for argument's sake, and I'm neglecting like things like culture and communication, all of that. I'm just talking about the expansion side, and I'm sure that there'll be a few people here that are looking to expand their businesses and have completely started focusing on this immediate need. But I really recommend that don't focus on the now, focus on the future, and from there you would be able to derive this. So I think the remote weeks that we had inevitably, and luckily for us, I suppose, prepared us for something like this. It wasn't so much luck though. It was really more preparation into. We understood that this was it was going to be the workforce of the future, regardless of COVID-19. And I'm sure you've seen some of the memes and the messages out on LinkedIn. It's like who was the driver in innovation within your business? Was it your CEO? Was it your CTO? Was it digital director? Whatever else?
Was it COVID?
Constantly, the COVID-19. It's crazy because it's opened up an entirely new population of users. Okay, your for example, or anyone else's grandmother or grandfather, or if anyone in that sort of older age group, they're now forced to become digital. If they want to speak to someone, they need to learn how to open up a Zoom or a Hangouts call, which essentially it's taken companies like Slack and Uber 10 years to get to where they are now, which is obviously a long time, a lot quicker than previously. But right now, there's going to be a company that opens up today. And in 10 years' time, we're going to be discussing them in a case study and saying, oh, well, it was through the pandemic that created this ingenuity. What you said just now is the great importance of having leadership that is able to look beyond the horizon, So now, with this remote working situation, you guys having prepared for it and actually implemented the weeks, where you facilitated the remote aspect of it. How do leaders now in businesses motivate their staff during these times where it's not going to be a week off and you come back to the office? We don't know when this is actually all going to come to an end. How do you maintain that motivation for your employees? Exactly. So I think that's possibly one of the most challenging things as a leader, as an entrepreneur, to solve for, because digitization, you can start small and that's pretty simple. But when you're starting to look at the culture of a business and the success of its people, that's where you start looking at very specific things, So as the number one rule essentially in this remote work, you need to, as a business owner or business leader, try and take away the fact that everything that you know about the culture of a physical office, your 9 to 5, your lunch at 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, that needs to stop, okay? You need to stop thinking about that. You need to be able to allow your employees to work as and when they want to, all right? Which could be very, very daunting in terms of, normally I'm watching after these guys. I need them here so I can see them working. That is absolute bullshit. So take that away. Give them more freedom. Okay. Set up things like morning updates. So like, okay, what are you guys doing for the day? Let's know. And it's never a hard pressed discussion. It's more of a, let's set your goals every day. I don't want to know exactly what you're doing, but just set your goals for the day, and that's how you take it. So there are things around that would drive a better sense of inclusiveness. What's the correct word here? You know, that culture of being, yes, my not my boss, my leader really trusts me. That really determines success, you know.
Yeah, and it comes back to what we said earlier, the accountability of it is knowing that you as the leader, you've hired this person for a reason, because they have the skills, they have the talent, and they should have the attitude that matches yours to continue to take SovTech or whatever business to its next stage. I think going back to what you just said, the need to reset our thinking is paramount in this time. Because like you said, the culture of, okay, well, it's 12, got to have lunch, got to sit here, got to do this, this is how I've been trained. And if you continue to have that mentality without ever thinking of the reset button, it's going to be so detrimental, because you're not going to, it goes back to that very old phrase, is adapt or die. And it starts with the leadership that have I guess it's the bravery or courage to actually press reset and say, okay, this is how it's got to be. And I think you guys have probably seen that with the productivity of the SovTech team. Has it been impacted? Is it improved during this time? What have you guys found?
Absolutely. Look, the short answer is we've become a hell of a lot more productive. Everything from the sales team through to the guys that are sitting in front of their computers for hours a day are actually able to focus a bit more, concentrate. So we've seen even from our clients' perspective, sitting down and saying it's unfathomable how you guys have actually taken this crisis and bettered the business. So it's been great. But I mean, I was laughing earlier around your analogy of adapt or die.
Yeah.
Irony in that is that if you as a business leader don't adapt, you're most likely going to die of stress or panic, because you actually need to let it go, right? That's the best way to gain that trust. If you're sitting there and managing everyone and looking after them, you know, with like this dedication and micromanagement, well, you're definitely going to die of stress, and no one's going to win from that scenario.
100%. I think, I mean, we'll know more than anyone, being fixtures in a digital economy already, having our foundations there as a digital agency and a custom software development company. You understand that the stress of the work that we do, it's high intensity. And I think now for many people, that aspect of going into work and having a physical support system, of having those face-to-face interactions, you know, with either a colleague or a manager or a boss, I think that always helps people, because then they can actually have that interaction. But now with isolation and people being stuck at home, some people won't be fortunate enough to have a family or to have roommates or a partner. How do you now go about assisting people that are going through emotional struggles during this time when you can't be there for them in person?
Look, I think that's this is now where the reciprocal comes in, right? Your style of management needs to be that open. You need to be available at any time to answer things like this. But more importantly, this is where you start coming into the company culture, right? And trying to solve for that, because this is, as I said earlier, probably one of the most challenging things to do. But you actually need to try and reinvent these social moments, you know. So for employees' well-being, it's possibly setting up a family quiz night. Okay, you know, sit down and whoever it is, the head of marketing can do the quiz, and everyone's involved, and it's very competitive, and you know, small things like that. I mean, it's one silly example. Or maybe like some sunrise silent disco, maybe, you know,
some yoga sessions.
Sort of, you know, or yoga session, exactly. These types of things really help to do that. But then also the biggest problem is that whether you are a leader or someone who's obviously if you're an employee at the business, so to say, you naturally in the office have these corridor discussions.
Yeah.
We'd walk and say, Angus, hey man, how's it going? Let's quickly jump in here and solve this problem. And that makes decision making a whole lot faster, which is very difficult to replicate in an environment like this. So it is being able to have live stream videos that you can log on and log off and chat to people.
Yeah.
We replicate this from our Joburg, Cape Town, London, our offices in Nairobi, so that we can see each other. And we're all around the world, but there are people physically sitting in well, let's use the COVID. We normally sit here, but there's people sitting all across Joburg, Cape Town, whatever it may be. How do you, give people the option to log on, have a chat, whatever it may be, and effectively also set up maybe some like water cooler sessions, in your office.
I think for most of us, I mean, I've found those to really be a nice break away from being in the, maybe not suffocating would be the right word, but you're almost so immersed into what you're doing. You're in the forest that when you get to go to the water cooler to go make a cup of coffee or whatnot, you're changing your perspective to see something differently. And sometimes that's when brilliance happens, is when you're not actually in it and you're away from it. And I think, this is obviously a challenge that's way too hard to solve in just one conversation. But I think what you've identified there with the aspect of culture and letting people know that there's going to be other opportunities to engage with the business beyond a meeting, where you can have fun games, interactions, and physical sessions, like maybe a yoga or I don't know, like a running challenge or whatever the case is. It means you can expel your energy for the business in different ways rather than just having to work for it, which I think is a very, very important point, because those group activities can't ever be understated. And now having to move them to digital platforms, they have to even be more important today to maintain that camaraderie and culture of a company.
Sure. Our in-office culture is revolves. I'm not going to say it is. It completely revolves around our food table. That is our getaway. That is our creativity.
I've seen it. I've seen you guys. If you weren't professional developers, you could always find that as the next avenue.
Exactly. So it's being able to replicate that environment online. And although it seems foreign, it's something that people need to embrace. And once again, this is where, as an organization, you really need to be able to be adaptable.
100%. Now, just jumping into this question, because we are running out of time, but I'm really enjoying this conversation. How have you found, as the commercial director of SovTech, how have you found the expansion of finding new business during this time? Is there anything that you can maybe give to another commercial director or sales team listening to you right now to use during COVID?
Sure. So it's been interesting. In the beginning, because of our client base across the world, there was initially a little bit of panic, which everyone went through. What's happening? So from a sales and new business perspective, it has been challenging. Does that mean that challenges are the be-all and end-all? Absolutely not. This has really brought about a massive amount of opportunity. With your question earlier on referring to the biggest companies, of course, they're very much tech-driven, but this COVID really has enabled us to look at life completely differently, because everyone is in the same scenario, okay? Everyone across the whole entire world is in the same scenario. So it does give that level of saying that every single company across the world needs to be able to get to this point, which means that everyone now has a sense of sympathy for what is actually happening. Which means that in turn, it's actually that challenge is going to become an opportunity that everyone that you're dealing with needs to see and needs to work on. So it's actually created this culture between people you don't even know that understand each other. There's immediately a connection, and you as a business,
it's an icebreaker,
how to live. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think what you've been able to just say there now is shift the negative to the positive, to be like, well, now we actually have more in common than you previously thought. Now you can go across different countries and cultures and barriers. Be like, well, I know what you're dealing with. I know how you're effectively having to manage your team. Are you using these techniques? And then that becomes your kickoff conversation and opportunity to expand. So for everyone watching this, turn that negative into a positive. Reframe it. It's all about the positioning, right, of what you say to a potential client.
It's a mindset, without a doubt. Look, dealing with people in Mozambique, for argument's sake, just for us as South Africans, has been a challenge because it's a physical border that plays an impact on your mind. Now we've realized that you can effectively, if you're in the professional services industry, hey, go and advise to people across the border. Obviously, there's implications on restriction there, but I mean, the point is that open your borders, open your mindset, and really go and execute on what your real passions and dreams are.
Brilliant, and then the opportunities are endless, effectively. And one last quick question regarding SovTech. Where do you see the business being in the next 10 years post-COVID, in a post, post this pandemic world?
Absolutely. I think you asked it earlier, but I didn't answer it. So let me.
So getting it back out of you.
I think, yeah, you put me back on that one. So our dream absolutely is within the next 5 years to be working and operational in 40 different countries. For example, that could lead to about 80 different offices. The goal is to 100% become the world's leading software development company from Africa. So really going to stick true to our African roots. We're proud of them. I think us as South Africans, as Africans, really have this opportunity to leapfrog technology. And our learnings as a company, based on us trying to solve uniquely African problems, has given us an advantage to when we're going to deal with new problems in Italy, for example, or any of these heavily hit post-COVID countries. We as Africans have a head start in many ways that you wouldn't possibly think about. So this has actually given us a platform to go out and really accelerate the growth of the business. As soon as we're out, we are going to be on planes and
getting back into
those. Just to go there, obviously the plan is, now we know we don't have to spend thousands of dollars or euros or whatever it is on offices. But we are going to go and sort of see the lay of the land, meet one or two different customers there and understand what their impact has been. And then from there, put it in our strategy and route to market into each of those segments.
That's very effective. That's very effective because now you're going to take their lessons and incorporate that into how you guys can strategize going forward and the way in which you go about acquiring business. That's very shrewd, and I think a lot can learn from that because there's this whole experience is just one big lesson. It's one big do and don't almost. It's what happened. It's a case study effectively. This is what it's going to become. So I wish you guys good luck when you guys when obviously travel's open and the world goes back to some sense of normality. And in closing, Chase, I just want to ask you, what made you decide to do this interview with myself and DarkMatter for the Lockdown Lowdown?
So we've been dealing with you guys for some time, and what the work that you guys are doing is obviously of interest to me in my space. And the thought of being a part of something that could potentially be bigger than ourselves, help people that are listening to this, and of course go out and this is just an opportunity that I could see that just help the guys, man. Take their business one step further.
Well, I think for everyone that has been listening, this has truly been insightful, hearing how the commercial director of SovTech, a company that is going above and beyond, growing in stature, expanding across the globe with a mindset and a goal of being the biggest African software development company in the world in not the next 10 but in the next 5 years. I think we can all take a page out of your guys' book and adopt the mindset that you guys have already implemented before this even happened, to be more future thinking and forward thinking about how does a negative become an opportunity and a massive positive for not just the business, but everyone within it. So thank you very much, Chase.
Appreciate it, Angus. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you very much. I'll see you guys at the next episode of the Lockdown Lowdown.